Hey everybody, it's Hannah here with another video of the spooky time of the year. And like I said, majority of these videos, I hope you guys enjoy of these 31 day of Vlogtober or whatever how you pronounce it. But I hope you guys are enjoying these everyday videos. And if you do, please like, please subscribe if you haven't already. And not only that, share with your friends. And let's just get started. And I'm going to be reading 14 people describe their terrifying encounters with creepy stalkers. So, and it seems like it's by this one, or if not all of them, are gonna be by Jacob Shelton or something, or at least the first one. Most people would agree that the internet has improved daily life, but the web, or it's just like a little introduction, I should say, but the web has a dark side too. The rise of social media has led to a rise in creepy online stalkers. These real-life creepy stalker stories are absolutely chilling, and it's telling. So many of them begin with a seemingly incorrect online meeting. If you're looking for an excuse to limit your internet time, these Reddit stalking tales will give you plenty of reasons to log off. They certain some of the most skin-crawling descriptions of stalking that you'll take a hint to strangers who loving pen phones to a object of their obsession. This list tell them all. Whew. The first one, the ex-boyfriend from hell. Hi, high school boyfriend. I, senior, split up with him. Junior was already controlling, judgmental, and abusive. I was moving into college at the local university. He went beeping crazy, lost his goddamn mind. He began by threatening messages about 200 a day, phone calls, showing up during my classes, showing up at my house, broke into my car and sat in the back seat. My best friend and I had gone to the movies, came home. I will always go drop her off at home, and she noticed a huge mark on the passenger side of the car. Looked in the back seat, and there was he laying on the floor, trying to hide. Bought a new car with new plates. He broke into my dorm room and left the dorms because I felt unsafe, and moved into an apartment not far from the college with two female roommates. He found out where I was living, and broke there too while I was in the shower. Told him to get the beep out, and he came after me with a knife. Had to call the cops and lock myself in the bathroom. He was gone by the time the cops had to call the cops and lock myself in the bathroom, and he was gone by the time the cops showed up. Was dating a newer guy who was an absolutely gentleman, and I warned him about my ex-boyfriend crashes one of our dates and jumps new guy in the 5 friends. I also ended up with my face smashed in from being a cheating whore and moving back into my parents. Ex-boyfriend attempted to break into my parents' house at 5 o'clock on a Sunday, so my entire family was home. My dad caught him and put a gun to his mouth. That was the end of it all. My dad is 6 feet 5 inches, ex-military, and scary. Edit. My dad did not kill him. However, I think that scared X enough. He was left me alone for 5 years now. I travel back home frequently, and when I see him, he looks at me. When he sees me, he looks the other way. Whoo! Why? And then the next one. Why aren't you online? This happened to me during my first year of university in October. I was living in the dorms, and I need to get you a brief rundown of the dorms. You need a key card to gain access to the Pacific floor. So even though someone on the 3rd floor and 4th floor live in the same building, they cannot access each other's floors. I had injured myself playing sports, so I was under orders to rest, which meant no Halloween parties for me, which pretty sad for a horror friend like me, like myself, but I'm try to make my time a happy one. I bruised myself helping to make costumes for people and doing their makeup. Once I finally finished, I packed my makeup and decided to watch some movies in my room. A guy popped up and introduced himself. We chatted for a bit and exchanged email addresses, and I walked back into my room and said goodnight. The first warning sign was he walked into my room behind me. Despite me saying I was going to walk into my room, I felt really awkward and tried saying in a roundabout way that he was needed to leave, but he wasn't getting the hint. I finally had to say, "You need to leave my room now." I chalked this up to him maybe being drunk or something, but I did wonder how he got onto my floor when he wasn't with anyone partying. Before I went to bed that night, I checked my email. There were 5 from Creep. The first being, "Hey, I'm so glad we're friends," and rest asking why I wasn't online. A few days later, I got a knock on my door when I was studying, and it was him. I explained that I was studying and needed privacy. He tried to walk in my room again, but braced my arm from the frame and said firmly that I needed to study. The next day, he was at my door again, and the next. I began pretending that I was not home. The other day, there was a knock at my door, when I checked the keyhole, there was no one there. All I assumed the postman had came. I opened the door, and behold, it was the creepy guy. He was beginning to hiding from the keyhole, so I would be more likely to answer the door. I told my roommate to never open the door if he was there. I told people I told my room. Sorry if I'm going to repeat some stuff. I slide and then I lost where I'm at. So I told my roommate never to open the door never open the door if he was there. And I told people I told people living on my floor that this guy was being a creep on me. So if he wanted to get on the floor, whatever sob story he gave them, don't let him on. A few days after that, I was on a bus coming home and I got a text from someone who lived on my floor telling me not to come home because creep was on my floor and was sitting in front of my door just waiting. I went to a friend's house and spent the night, and when I got home I was told he waited for me 4 hours before leaving. At this point, I was getting freaked out. A few days after that, he began to waiting outside from the building. If I left, he would follow me or whatever I went. I was too spineless to tell him to go away, and I tried to be more passive about it. Never spoke and never gave any indication I was paying attention, but he followed me to class, the cafeteria, and always tried me following me home and get access to the floor. I went to the resident advisor, an older student that sort of watches over the floor, and told her what happened. She spoke to the RA of his floor, and I was told the creep had been telling his AR we were best friends and dating. My RA tried to explain that I was uncomfortable, but the other RA believed him and that was that. Thankfully, one thing did dealer him. He would never approach me if I was in a group of people. So my floor mates banded together. If I went to dinner, I went to with my floor, and if I wanted a drink or seconds, someone would come with me. Walking to class, even waiting for the bus, bus was done in a group. He got into my floor once when someone else was coming home, and he forced his foot and let himself in. I was hidden in another room, and when he left, my door got to go door. When he left, my door to go and sit in the television lounge waiting for me. I went downstairs and ran around the other side of the building and got into my room before he noticed. Then the calls began. I never gave him my number, but someone else. But he somehow been in my noble and my phone and room phone, and the first it would be 1, 2 phone calls a day, 1 or 2 phone calls a day, until I told him I wanted him to leave me alone. Then calls began coming every hour, with him begging and pleading for me to talk to him. Without caller ID, I needed to answer the phone because of school and my part-time job. At this point, it was November, and I was a wreck. I was tired of having to plan out doing simple things like going for food, walking to the bus stop. Stress hasn't helped me recover from my injury, and I was losing weight, and I looked sickly. I went back to the RA and begged her to help me. She went headed to the dorms, explained everything that happened. I explained how far this had gone, and my roommate told them that he had followed me a few times, demanding that she tell him where I was. I felt awful. She never told me this because she was afraid of upsetting me more, and felt like I felt like I was an beephole for letting her through this garbage. I don't know what went behind closed doors. From what I guess, he told me to leave me alone, and further contact would result in him being kicked out of the dorms. There was an email where he went insane on me, telling me how awful I was, how could I do this to him. We were so happy together. Surely I was cheating on him with another man. After that, nothing. At first, when I'd see him around campus, I would run into women's toilets to hide. I'd see him around town or on campus, and he'd always just stare at me. Never tried to approach me, never tried to get my attention, just staring. I used to walk by and try to pretend I didn't notice him staring, and I tried and act like my heart wasn't pounding. Whew, scary. And I'm sorry if my voice seems a little not too good by over time reading. And the next one is the subway stalker. A little backstory. I'm 20 years old, short, petite female, working at Subway, and I can't help but notice, but be nice to anyone, even if they creep me out. I feel bad usually. About a year ago, we had this guy 35, 40 years old, who would come every day for lunch. He was fantastic. My fantasy was practically entertained or interested by my stretched ears and piercings I had on my face, and always asked questions. He would sit down after I rang him out the sandwich, watched me from his table 2 hours nonstop, and staring at me while I was helping other customers. This goes for about 2 weeks. Every day he would ask for my number, saying he has plugs and tunnels he wanted to give me, and see me wearing them in my ears, and I was politely denied. One day I was alone at the store because my manager had to run to the bank. We were really slow that day, so I was just in the back room messing around on my phone. I heard the door chiming, looked up, and no one was there. Then I saw the man walking past the front of the store really quickly. He was in a hurry. The store phone rings. Me. Thanks for calling Subway. How can I help you? Him. This is the girl with the nice ears, right? Me. Yes. Who is this? Him. Are you alone in the back room right now? Are you working by yourself? At this point, I really got creeped out, and I knew it was him. I hung up, texted the manager the situation so she would hurry back. He called again, this time asking me weird questions, like what would you do with him in the room with the doors locked if I had a boyfriend, why I was playing hard to get, so on. My manager gets back and I tell her everything. In the middle of the lunch rush, he calls it again. This time my manager answers, and to get a day she never told me what he said, but the look on her face made my spine shiver. She told him if he calls again or shows up, there would be call the police. She would call the police. I thought it was the end of it, but also I was wrong. 1 week later, I was locking out and getting ready to walk to my car parked in front of the front, and when I looked outside, I saw him standing by my car looking inside of it. I was an idiot, and I left a back door unlocked. I watched him crawl inside, and I shut the door. The creep was trying to hide in my beeping back seat and do God knows what me when I got in. My manager locked the front door of our store and called the police. When they arrived, they had pretty much dragged him out of my car, and he was arrested. On him was a butcher knife, rope, and a rake with chloroform on it. If I hadn't locked up when I did, I would probably be dead by now. Whew. The next one. Never met your neighbors. When I first moved into my new place in a new town, I had left home one evening and accidentally left my garage door open. Texted my husband to tell him so he could go home and close it. He gets there and tells me it's not open. That's strange, but okay. The next day I was taking my trash out of my neighbor's and my neighbor's was outside. He introduced himself and told me that the night before noticed me leaving and I left my garage door open. So he went inside and closed it and let himself out through the front door, only locking the doorknob lock. Then he sent me a Facebook friend request. I'm assuming he looked at my mail on the corner with my full name. After he wrote me poems and tapped them on my door, left gifts on the porch, made crazy Facebook post about a woman he was in love with who was forbidden. I'm married. One Saturday night, I came home really late and I was finishing my cigarette outside of my garage before going in. He was sitting outside in his chair, blastering drunk. He approached me, staring, and started talking to someone named George. I had no idea what he was going on about and confused. I asked him if he had company. He walked into the garage and came out with a box. Continuing George. George was his stepdad and he was dead. The ashes were in the box. He caught window of a trip I was going on via Facebook and invite him along. I politely explained that I am married and all of his wacky behavior was unacceptable. A few days later, I had gone gone on a walk with my husband, and we left through the garage, leaving the door open. He messaged me on Facebook and told me he left a gift for me in my garage. When I got back, I found a bunch of camping gear inside of a giant Easter egg. After I got back from the trip, he showed up at our door at midnight, drunk, banging on the door. We moved. Whew. And then the next one, when stalking becomes verbal abuse. An ex-boyfriend who I dated for a grand total of 3 weeks got really attached in those 3 weeks, and I told him he told me he loves me after had sex. I told him I was flattered, but I didn't reciprocate. I decided to break up with him soon afterwards because he was too intense. I told him this, and then the abuse began. He began texting, calling, and Facebook messaging me Facebook messaging me. It varied wildly what he'd say, begging me to come back / come over for sex, graphically detailing how he hoped I would die, telling me what a slut I am, so on. I blocked him on my phone and on Facebook, Snapchat after ignoring my request of stop contacting me. He began messaging me through the accidents of mutual friends without their permission, I later found out. And leaving me about 10 voicemails a day. He even got told of my work email, which I never gave him, and sending me paragraphs in which he would bounce wildly between lamenting he loves me, disowning me with viral mental illnesses, which was even everything from bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, MPD, and Down syndrome, or some sound. It was a new one each time. He dragged up the one time that we had sex into this too, and telling me that I was broken because why would I not want to be with him? I ended up getting a new email to use at work, because it turns out you can't block someone from emailing you. I once again sent a single line in reply. It just not stop contacting me. It was just stop contacting me. He wasn't done there. He had previously been texting me, which he was blocked from doing. He found out my MacBook and received iMessages from his iPod Touch using my personal email address, which he did have. So he come iMessaging mostly private pics he found on 4chan while calling me a slut and a whore and taking screenshots and posting my angry posting my angry and distressed replies to his friend's group chat. Screenshots of this group chat got sent to me. Thankfully, the mutual friend of that chat was actually sticking up for me. Someone else was telling him to try and have hate sex with me. I ended up turning off my iMessages fiction on my Mac Mac all together, so he couldn't do anymore. Again, I asked him to stop contacting me. This time, threatening legal actions to stop it, which he legally through was hilarious. I ended up going through the police and gave him a call, telling him that they knew that was going on and that stalking charges would be pressed if he kept going. They told me to text him in front of them, telling him that the call was coming. He replied made me angry beyond all reasons. It said, "Stop contacting me now, bitch. I've had my fun." I didn't reply under instructions from the police, and I went home through things around anger for about 10 minutes. I haven't heard him since, on the bright side. Whew. The next one, the voice on my phone. August 2001, like most freshmen, I lived in dorms at a state party school. A good buddy from the military school, Bill, went to the same school and lived a few floors below and in the same dorm as me. For the most part, first month or so of college was normal. I went to most of my classes, partied just about every night, chased girls around, and was enough for the moment. But things began to change one night sometime mid-September, and college for me would never be normal again. My dorm phone rings in the middle of the night. Hello? The other end, I could only really describe the voice of kind of in the picture that when you think about the computer talking, kind of like an early model car GPS. "Hi, Gary, how are you today?" Not fully awake. I'm just confused at this point. "Who are you?" He repeats. "Hi, Gary, how are you today?" It becomes clear that I'm fed up with, so I hang up and chuckled. "Effing Bill, nice one." I passed out. I ended up forgetting about the call for a few days and never mentioned to Bill or anyone else. About a week later, I got another call around the same time of night. "Hi, Gary. I'm watching you." Nice, very Lynch. "Seriously, Bill, how are you not knee-deep in Everclear or a tri-deal this hour? Even already caged roommate is going to start to getting pissed." I hang up. I casually confront my so clear at breakfast the next morning. He gives a general confused response, "Whatever." So a couple days after second call. I come home with home and see I had couple messages in my answer machine. WTF, I barely knew what thing even worked. It's a computer voice guide. Message 1. My machine cuts off after 1 to 2 seconds of message, which tells me it's about to send play among answered. Hi Gary, I'm watching you. Message 2. I thought I asked you to answer my calls, Gary. Message 3. Where might Gary be on a Tuesday night? Whew. The calls started coming more frequently over the next couple months, starting at once a week, then once every 2 to 3 days, up to every day by Christmas break. Uneventful break and back to school, determined to become a new man. First night back, I get my first spring semester call from CVG. How is your family in Cyprus? My hometown suburbs. Okay, now this is beepin' BS, man. Calls become threatened and downright dark. I'm very interested, Gary, in being close to you. I have tools I can bring. It is going to be over soon. One day I bring Bill and all his other buddies to come hear the messages. They deleted a single one for some reason. The guys are in shock. Around March, the calls were becoming in no fewer than 10 or 15 every single day. Seriously, but I finally get message I'll be waiting for. The day, time, location are set. We will meet in front of Coleman Hall at midnight, Wednesday, 27 April, and we'll talk our friendship to the next level. My home team crowds steadily built up throughout the afternoon and evening. I left with about 15-20 members platoon. I had decided earlier that I was not going to allow all these knuckleheads to shadow me, but I could definitely use them in case of emergency. I didn't want to risk him spooking out of the meet, so I let them know they will need to stay inside the dorms of the common area while I walk out of the meeting spot. About 100 passes out from my spot, I observed two things at the same time. One, some kind of small, quick movement in front of the patio walkway that goes all the way around the building. And two, the movement was in a spot along the walkway where the only normal uber bright light bulb is out. I'm not exactly sure how I was able to see him, but I suddenly realized someone was crouched behind one of the conservatory cookie cutter bushes outside the patio premiere against one of the building pillars. In the dark, clothes and hoodie, he is a few feet off from the path where I'm supposed to meet him, and supposed to where I really should not been able to see him. Give a pillar blocking any shadow, plus the burnt out. I later found smashed light. In fact, I could have easily walked all the way the door without have noticed someone down there. Nope. I sort of jumped my step as this happens, and I seen him raise up and up a little, thinking I might have seen him. I seen him raise up and take a step towards me, and fight hits. Before I realize what I'm doing, I'm in a dread sprint towards me. MF, who I'm guessing seeing what I can't yet, which my platoon busted through the glass doors in hot pursuit. Creepster nopes the F out of there, running into the patio alongside Coleman Hall towards the parking lot. I realize I'm moving fast enough to catch him, but everyone else is really far behind me. I also realize I'm moving so fast I wouldn't be protected as I turn hard right out of the corner, the building. If he stops here, I'm toast. As I turned the corner, I see the van sitting in the parking lot in front of me. It's running, and brakes lights flicker off, then off, on and off. Park into drive, and begins inching forward towards the exit. Home slice is of course heading for the van, which for some reason sent this whole new level of fear into me. This is it. This is really happening, and I'm going to get beeping murdered tonight. But I can't. No. But I can't stop. Something keeps moving forward. I guess I'd come this far delight with this crazy BS for almost a full year now, completely unable to do anything, otherwise trying to ignore it. But if I could get close enough to tackle, I would still have my own deal with the creepster, his driver, and how I realized there's a third one was manning the sliding side door. Awesome. I don't care how badass you think you are, when you're 19 years old, jock, your chances of taking 3 grown men that are already violated crimes and prepared to victimize about 1 in not gone beepin' happen, buddy. My turn is wide and slow due to be pulling on spirit, and I lost ground. I'm 20 yards from the lot and flying leap into the side van. There couldn't have been any rows of seats of the leap that like that. Creepster number 3 slams sliding door shut as the van peels out the parking lot, bangs a right, and gone in an instant. We finally start walking back, and I'm reliving the scene. and we retrace our footsteps. As we get closer to the original meeting spot, I see something that scares me more than anything. Anything else that in the entire equation has put up at this point. On the opposite side of the Pilmar, where creepy Mark Creeperson has crunching. The creepy there's a video camera sitting on the standpoint right on the spot I would have been standing at when I would have not been noticed by him. It's still recording. Whew. I want to see how much we have. There, okay. She was obsessive. A couple years back, when I was in college, I was a victim of long-term stalker. I am a male, 20 at this time. I started out fairly serious of Valentine's Day. I started to receive secret admirers type text messages from an unknown number. I assumed it was a friend of mine playing a joke, as I was in a room with a handful of tech survey people at the time. I tried to gauge others' reaction and ask if anyone was messing with me. They all denied it, and I believed them. They're pretty bad liars. I further confirmed that it was none of them when I got a phone call from this number. Voice on the other line said, "Is this my name?" I replied, "Yes, who is this?" hoping I could identify the voice. At this point, they hung up and resumed texting. This thing started weird when people began asking pretty personal questions, including repeats asking, Are you doing something tonight?" And I replied, "Yes, I was working." But they kept insisting we should meet up. On top of this, I was getting virus images sent to me from a separate email. This user name at textnowme.me. This confirmed it wasn't a real number, but now I had a username to contact to the person. I did not know if it was their intention, but I actually enjoy trying to figure out beeps like this and took it upon myself to expose this person without giving anything about myself. So I kept it up. I texted them for a while and dug more information about the person, completing it into a profile and possibilities. Unfortunately, this is excoriating them, as if they insist I send pictures, take pics, add to the conversation, etc. This had sent a weird one. A white lace dress hanging from the closet with an occupying text. My wedding dress for when I am married to you. Heart and love emojis. They continue to pray about where I was going to the evening, and I refused to give any details. Then I dropped where they were going to be, a party on campus that night. I couldn't go regardless. I was working. Then I got another bombshell. They asked if I lived in apartment 89, which I did. I recognized the style of apartment they were in based on the pictures from earlier, so I decided I threw a curveball. You live in this complex, right? What? How did you know? Me. I recognized your door. All the beeping apartments had the same lock door frame, which was visible from the edge of a picture they sent. The conversation kind of feels like, oh, here, I didn't go to the party and didn't get any more texts. Fast forward to October the following school year, I was a senior and busy AF. But one evening, I got a text from an unknown number. Is this my full name? I was played dumb, pretend like I wasn't freaked out. From many months. This person has contacted me again, and I still haven't figured out who it is. These questions were instantly more personal and really weirded me out. Don't ruin the fun. Now, knowing who I am is part of a mystery. I don't tell you who I am. Not now. Too much to lose. I don't want to know now, but because I'm cruel, it's just better if you didn't know. This kind of reminds me of Pretty Little Liars. I'm pretty tired of this beep. I'm trying to work, but I want to see if I can pick up any more details, so I'm doing the bare minimum to keep this coin. This is December, the end of the semester. They proceed to call me multiple times. I deny every call to keep coming. I think there were 14 calls that night. I turned my phone off. Following week, I was in class. Students were presenting their finals work on their projects, and I had query multiple tabs on the project's computer. Two different students had a Google Drive. When the second student logged into their account, they didn't open a private window, so it logged out the first student. I saw this happening, but the first student wasn't in the room, so when she came back, I asked her to re-log in. When we were both standing in the projection booth, she was at the one at one end of the computer, and I was messaging her with a sound system on the other side, but happened to turn and look at project screens, and she was logging into Google. This hit me like a ton of bricks. The username she logged in with was the same username was TextNow account and TechNow account that had been sending me photos. I quickly turned away and pretend was too busy with something until she finished opening her work. I thanked her and she left the booth without realizing her mistake. I tried to play it cool, but instead I was going crazy for the rest of the class. I almost a year knew who it was. She finally slipped up, and I honestly much more scared now that I had never been. This person had a history of being pretty creepy around my friends, and although she had never personally interacted with me outside of class, all my friends had strange experiences. I had a meeting with a counselor who seemed to really care and offered to look into it. A couple weeks later, emailed me saying the student is going to abort next semester, so we're not going to do anything. I insist that the last thing, insist the least something temporary would be into place. They didn't do anything, but what I did, I expect. The school was pretty north for not giving a B. I didn't run into her again. She wasn't texting me, so for the long time, being that was where the story ends. Whew. And I believe that this one I'm going to read is going to be the last one, or the last two I'm going to read. And I'm so sorry that this video is more on the longer side. And I do appreciate if you are still watching. Please like, please subscribe. And then if you're still watching, please comment below and let me know where you're at. The next one is called The Internet Pen Pals. I've had a couple of stalkers. The one night freaked me out the most was another country, and we've never met. We met on website for pen pals. He lived in another country. Our conversations were great. He developed feelings really fast. I liked him very much in the beginning. Our relationship became sexual in nature. We made plans to meet, etc. I had concern with some of these. I considered red flags confirmed by friends and family. I denied to back it off for a bit. He didn't like that at all. I was super beta, trying to keep the peace without hurting / losing my friend. I started lying to him out of fear. He'd ignorant me for hours about where I was going and who I was with. If I had a party, he'd both ask if I slept with anyone, and then asked what kind of hope and I had, so I could tell him how the sex was. It was getting to be too much. I had no longer interest in him, romantically or sexually, but I would still encourage with him sexually because I was afraid of him. In the meantime, I met and fell in love with Kurt, so was absolutely wonderful. Stalker was obsessive with everything about our buddy relationship and wouldn't leave me be. I realized finally the stalker made me feel disgusting, and that I should not be involved with someone who I was afraid of and disgusted by. I told him I didn't want to hear from him ever again. He ignored me. My soul contacted him and told him to leave me alone. He tried to integrate my soul about my nature and my relationships, but so shut him down. I blocked him on everything, and I realized he was still reading my blog, so I deleted the whole thing. He made new email accounts and Facebook constantly. He relentlessly Googled my name, and so to the point that our memes were amongst the top research of multiple search engaged. When he elected no response, he started sending me screenshots of times we had been sexual. I know I was mortified, but since I had been 100% honest with my soul, it didn't break us up. My soul was obviously intense and disgusted. We never responded to anything he sent. Uh, to my knowledge, he still creeps on us, but after everything mostly stopped. I know he's thousands of miles away, and I've had stalkers who were in my imitated area, but still scares at me the most. The next one. Oh, I still have a lot more. The Buddhist creep. I met this guy through a local art community, and he mentioned via Facebook he had been looking for a non-profit and become involved. And so I invited him to learn more about one of I was involved him with. He proceeded to befriend with exquisite director, a friend of mine, and May had friends other used a friendship, and NOB gained access to me. He was very quick, became homeless, and started squatting the offices of the NPO and sometimes my garage with his 8-year-old son. He uses his friendship with me as well as mine with empathy to get information from me. Then he would use that to get it from my friends. It would anonymally use it all to try to break up my marriage and friendships. I started to realize how creepy he was being. I started to see him drive past my house. He started professing his love to me and anyone else he would listen to. He wrote me creepy letters, obviously contacting my friends, threatened suicide, and left me with a Craigslist missed connections. He wouldn't listen to any of my back off messages, and the NPO refuses to kick him off the board. In the meantime, I was getting deeper and deeper into Buddhism, and I was preparing to the set important vows. He learned about the vows, looked up and learned one of the incense was never turned away from who came to Buddhism and asked for my help. So he joined the temple, and I told him it made me uncomfortable that he reminded my vows and told me he didn't care how it made me feel. That was when I told him if I ever saw him at my home or temple again, I would get a restraining order, and told him never ever contact me again. He tried to convince everyone I was crazy and that he was really a Buddhist, and now but I really warned clearly at the temple. I had to block him from all social media, and we routed board meetings. It's been 3 years, and I still get chills when I see him around accidentally. I generally think he was one of the most disturbed, creepiest people that I've met. The next one, the inquisitor who wouldn't back off. I was about 14 years old when this happened, and the dude was stalking me was a few years older. Let's call him Tom. I used to complete it in questionnaires, events, and Tom's mom was the president of one of the clubs I belonged to. His mom dragged him along to an event one day where he must have been seen and taken a liking me. I don't remember actually talking to or even meeting him that day, or he took it upon himself to look through the club members' forms to find my number. Tom called me every single day, multiple times for a month on end, twice a week. Twice on weekdays, 3 times weekends. I politely told him that I wasn't interested, and he was convinced that he wouldn't make me like him through sheer will alone. I stopped taking his calls after he started threatening to fine and beaten any male I happened to mention, be it family, friend, or boyfriend, and would fly into a range at the silent thing. Sometimes he would call just scream at me, just something that happened at school that pissed him off. He started to find out which events I was going to attend by going through an entire forms of his mom's has sent, and he would show up and follow me around all day, demanding to know why I didn't date him. He went as far as grabbing me, shaking me when I tried to ignore him on the ground, or grabbing my horse's reins of if I was on the mountain. My mom and I asked Tom's mom to stop bringing him to events as where I was staring to get scared, and she accused me of leading him on and acting like I was too good for a boy that would considering him myself lucky that someone like him would even look twice at me. He eventually stopped, and when one of my brothers came to an event and stood over him, telling him to leave me alone. The next one. The inappropriate math tutor. When I was in a 2-year high school, I was tutored for math by a guy, we'll call him Brian. Brian was at least 65 years old and worked for a tutoring center. I was see him 2 afternoons a week for 45 minutes each. He seemed very lonely guy, never married, no kids, and would have I could tell very little friends, and I felt very sorry for him. I was really nice to Brian, and I avoid having to do math work, and I'd ask him questions and try to start a conversation. All was well when I finished high school, and that was that. About 1 year later, my best friend, younger brother, got a tutor by Brian as well. And one day, when dropping my friend's brother off, I said hi to Brian for me as he got out of the car. About a week later, I received a letter in a mail. It was from Brian. He was saying how he had really liked me, and now that he was now tutoring Ben, my friend's brother, and was excited. He mentioned to say hi. He looked this. He was way wrong way, and in the letter basically confessed the feelings he had for me. Was so glad I felt the same way. He said some very creepy things in the letter about how I looked good, how I looked good in a uniform, and always wanted to tell me but didn't want to get in trouble. I told my parents about the letter, and they approached the tutoring center and told the owners. He ended up getting fired for the letter and also for excusing personal information of the clients for him to send the letter. About a week later, I started receiving flowers at my doorstep, and they would then be followed with text messages from my mobile number saying, "Hope you like the flowers and give me a call if you want to get coffee." My parents took all of this to the police and accident contact with Brian, and the continue and never heard from him since. And seems like I have about 3 or 4 more. So I hope you guys enjoy. Sorry, like I said, with this long video, I wasn't expecting it to be this long, but I still hope you guys enjoy. The next one, the stabbing someone with a fork. I dated a guy for about 2 months, and he had insane ex-girlfriend. She showed up with at his house with no less than a dozen times over the short period of that we dated. They had been going out for a year, and she just got crazier and crazier. Even after we broke up, she continued to stalk me, sending me Facebook messages and texting my phone. I ended up switching numbers and get rid of my real name online. 5 years later, she gives up stalking me when he gets engaged with a girl and moves out to Texas. She moved to Texas. And then she learns the fiance to parking lot of a Denny's, I think, and stab her face with a fork. Whew. The next one, the older guy. I used to work with an older guy, old enough to be my father. I tried to be friendly with him because we worked in nearby departments, and I didn't want to get in trouble if we had someone I worked with. I guess no one was really nice to him there. So he took me to the butter and bread. He quickly left his department if he saw me, and just chilled in mine and to do all my work for me. I never asked him to, and I prefer to do my work on my own because it gave me something to do. One of my cars wouldn't start, so he offered to give me a ride. I agreed because walk me home. I agreed because walking 10 miles. From that point, I would show up randomly at my house, wanting to hang out or something to eat or whatever. At first, I wanted to stay a few hours because I wanted him was harmless. But after putting up with him every day for a week at work and outside of work, I got annoyed. I started avoiding my home or pretending I wasn't home. He didn't like that too much. I started showing up at places I was at, movie theaters, mall, fast food places, even my mom's house one time. I couldn't figure out how he knew where the FI was at each time until a friend inspected my car and found out effing tractor on it. Once he realized I couldn't find he couldn't find me anymore. He took a corner at my work. One time he had me cornered and shoved his tongue into my mouth. Naturally, I freaked out for a bit and bit him. And once I had to get away, I ran to my manager's office, caught it on tape, thank effing heavens that he was properly fired. I ended up moving shortly afterwards and didn't tell anyone my forward address beyond family. I have family blocked. I have him blocked on social media, and I did see him once in the store, but he was with his wife, and I was with a friend who was built like a tank. I don't want the store. I didn't go to that store since. And I'm going to read one more story because this is the last one. And I hope you guys enjoy. If you do, please like, please subscribe. And if you are watching me until now, I do appreciate. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry this video is a lot longer and I was not expecting. So thank you so much for, watching up to now. Footsteps in the snow. I broke up with my abusive ex. I moved into my parents' home with my daughter. We had a lot of snow one night, and we woke up in the morning, and I noticed footprints leading up to my window. Then we noticed that there were footprints leading up all windows. We found marble meth cigarettes butts on the snow tracks. The footsteps to the township hall that we live across from. My ex stood outside and looked through all the windows and we didn't know until the next day. My bed was straight next to the window. We invested the new locks and curtains from all windows. We called the police since I had an order of protection, and since we didn't see him, we couldn't do anything. I worked in the ER and the nurse, and twice he came in the patient. There was never anything actually wrong with him, so we all expected that he did it to scare me. I never had to be his nurse. Once again, there was no way to provide that. It was international. Somebody wrote bitch and slut in the dirt on my car multiple times. One time I noticed it in the parking lot of the local grocery store, so I'm unsure of when it was written, but it creeps me out. No, he might have been in the store watching me. He just stopped, as far as I know. Eventually, he got a girl pregnant, and from what I heard, he left the state, avoiding to be a father. Our daughter and I are safe now. We have a security system, a dog that barks like a mad man anytime something strange is in the yard, and my so has assured me that he will do anything to protect us. I still recently received some messages from his mom and sister. They told me that I'm a terrible mom and that it's all my fault they cannot see my daughter, when in reality, they never tried. They also told me that I'm a liar and my ex never abused me or stalked me. I know the whole truth. Whew! But that was, some of them are scarier than others, but I hope you guys enjoy. If you do, please like, please subscribe if you haven't already, and subscribe and share with others and let others know that I'm posting every day for the month of October. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.